Welcome to the Creative Force Podcast, a podcast all about empowering you to live in your God-given identity and go after the dreams in your heart. I'm your host, Sharon Stark, and every week we'll be having powerful conversations that will combine practical and biblical wisdom for living your purpose. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to the Creative Force Podcast. I'm here today with Beth Snider. Beth is a children's illustrator. Welcome to the show, Beth. Can you share with the audience a little bit more about yourself?
Thank you. Well, I'm a children's book illustrator. I'm a mom and a wife from Kansas.
Awesome. What are some of your hobbies besides art?
Definitely cooking. I love to bake and to make good meals for my family.
Yeah.
And just, I guess, spending time with my family and making a home.
That's awesome. And how many kids do you have again?
I have 4.
Oh, that's so cool. So today we're talking about your work and everything that you do. Can you share with us, how did you get involved in illustrating?
So I've always been a creative person. And so I've been drawing and painting and doing all sorts of crafty things since I was a little kid. And so I don't ever remember a time where I wasn't doing something art related. And then whenever I became an adult, I just did it so much that I started getting offers from people to get paid for it. And so then I think I also have a bit of an entrepreneurial streak in me.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to be able to get paid for something that I do love to do. And so why not? Why not make money and enjoy what you do at the same time? So that's how. So I didn't go to art school. I can't claim that I have any formal education. I've taken classes since then, but I've not had any formal education that way. So
yeah. And when you first got started, how did you set your prices? Was it hard to figure out how to charge people? What was that like?
So I think at the beginning I would kind of be yeah, pay me whatever you want to. And that just really created a lot of problems. And so I think that a lot of people in that situation, they'd be well, I love to do it. So why would I set a price for it? And I also want to be friendly to people, and I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings by asking for a certain amount. And I'll just allow them to think of what they want to pay me. And I think that's a really wrong way of going about it. And so I wish I would have had the confidence to be you know what, the person I'm talking to deserves for me to lay out what I want clearly and let them to know the expectations that are involved and what I'm going to be delivering. And so once I started really learning how to write a good contract, then that's whenever my business kind of became legit and really picked up, and where it moved in from being a hobby to a business.
Yeah. What helped you to kind of get writing contracts? Was that something that you just had to kind of Google, or how did you figure all of that out?
Well, I mean, it arose out of an actual need just to deliver the all of the information to my clients, but also just because I started educating myself by listening to other people who do this. That's a big thing, okay, put what you're doing in writing. And so I think it's probably just learning from the industry. And I'm really glad that I have the internet to be able to connect with other people doing podcasts, or, to kind of just learn what other people are doing. I don't know what people did before the internet. I guess they just really guessed at it. I have no idea.
Yeah. They have to go to the library and check out a lot of books.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how does your relationship with God, how does that influence your art and everything that you do?
Well, I would say that it's the thread that goes through everything that I do, and all of the visuals. It's I have this really colorful, childlike, innocence. That's the kind of art that I love to do. And I'm not trying to say that other art doesn't hold a place, because it does. But for me, that's the kind of thing that just God has put inside of me and inspired me to do. So it's always been children's book illustration for me. I remember there was probably a time when I was 19 or 20. I'm oh, I need to start using some darker colors or some, less muted tones, and try to do things that are more serious, like landscapes and stuff like that. And I just am no matter what I did, it would always come out really colorful and really cheerful. And I'm you know what? That is the joy of the Lord, that he put inside of me. And so I'm not going to resist it anymore. I'm just going to give in to what he has really like woven into the fabric of who I am. And so I think for me, it's just my relationship with God causes me to want to inspire creativity in the people that look at my art, and also just a childlike innocence. So my main goal is to encourage families and children, and I guess that's my answer. So
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And I think like yeah, your art, it's so colorful and it's like the imagination. And I think that that's something that as adults that we can tend to lose, but going back to that imagination place, I think like you have a quote about that on your website, don't you?
yeah, I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it's like basically keep your child in that state of imagination for as long as possible because it's their safe haven from the world. And so
Yeah.
I really feel like that's our charge as parents and anybody who interacts with children. Like, there's enough things to worry about in this world that
Yeah.
kids are like, from 10 and under in kind of like a dream state. They're, they don't realize the gravity of sin and all these things. And one day they will. But I think in a way, it's like we want them to be encouraged in their state of imagination and play and all those things that go with it. And the heavy things will come a little later. But
Yeah.
I'm not for lying to your children about the way things are. And some children run into tragedies. And so, they're going to have to deal with that. But, I mean, there's ways of dealing with it even so, because I illustrated a book about grieving for children.
Mm.
And so we put it in words for children. And so, yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I think the imagination is so powerful, and even as adults, that we should really be using that and
Yeah.
imagining like the things that God has for us. And you mentioned how like you had that period of time where you're kind of trying to do like landscapes and like darker colors and stuff. How did you, I guess, like really stop comparison and really step into like your own style and your own voice?
Yeah, I think that there's going to be comparison no matter what. But I've kind of like just realized the reality that there's always going to be someone who is really great at this. And
Yeah.
I'm not at the top. I can't be. And so I'm just like, I think it's part of just being content and accepting reality and accepting how God made me, and then accepting the tasks that he has given me to do. And so I'm just kind of like, all right, I'll take it as it comes, and I'll just be really happy with the things that I get to do and the opportunities that I can have. So
Yeah. And I know your passion too. Like your passion is really to be a wife and a mom. Like that's where you're really passionate about. And then like illustrating, like how does that help you support that like overall goal? And like what would you say to like moms or like moms to be?
well, I definitely think that what I do allows me to work at home, allows me to be here, and has been, I've always been able to be here when my kids are home, after they get home from school. And so it's like, I would rather that than having to go to
Yeah.
the or something like that. And so it has allowed me to just really focus on my family. And so I would say, as a wife and a mom, there's so many things that you can do, um, creative uh, businesses that you can kind of come up with on your own and work from home and not have to be gone from your home, I guess. And so that would be my passion, my personal preference. I know that there's outlying circumstances that don't allow everybody to stay at home. And, but I think that for the most part, there's, especially in America, there's, there's a
Yeah.
great opportunity to do whatever you can to make money to contribute to your family's finances and do it while you're still at home. So,
Yeah, and I think it's really cool because I feel like God's stirring that in like a lot of women's hearts. I know a lot of women who are coming up with like different businesses and God ideas and being able to do that at home so that they can serve their family. And I think the amazing thing is that there's like opportunities for that that maybe people weren't aware of in the past.
yeah, definitely. And even the jobs that you want to do, they don't have to be exactly what people would classify as creative. I think that they
Yeah,
really are. I mean,
yeah,
it's like you're creative if you can think of ways to earn money that are out of the box. So
Yeah, creative, it comes in so many forms. I mean, being a
yeah.
business owner, entrepreneurship, like that to me is creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome. What would you say like to people who are small business owners or maybe aspiring artists? Like what advice would you give them?
Well, since it's my specialty is illustration, I would
Yeah.
say to really dig in and see what the world of the internet has to offer, because um, I used to kind of take it as a badge of honor that I didn't go to art school,
Yeah.
but and I still figured things out. But really, once I actually took the time to take some classes and get educated on the basics like composition or light and shadow or color theory, once I started to really focus on that, that's whenever my world opened up. And so I would recommend that you take time to like educate yourself and grow your skills before you just jump into it, because you will learn along the way, but you're going to learn a lot quicker if you focus your on your specific skill, the thing that you're trying to learn, and just become really excellent, as good as you can be at that thing. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And what would you say, like, obviously you've had a lot of experience working with like authors and like in the publishing realm. So kind of like from your own personal experience, what have you kind of like learned about like the publishing stuff and like the children's book side of it?
well, I think for me, I've worked with publishers, but I've also worked with authors, and
Yeah.
I decided that the self-publishing route is really the route that I'm able to do the best in. And I used to aspire to want to be published by like all the major publishing companies out there.
Yeah.
And right now, I just don't see that as my path. And I'm okay with that. I really feel like all the authors that I meet are like really amazing at what they do, and they're entrepreneurial too. And the stigma of self-publishing is starting to go away, where people
Yeah.
think just like, oh well, they look at a book and I can tell that's self-published, and I know what that looks like, and I know that that's not what I'm doing. And so, and I also work with a company. They're not a publishing company, they're a book design company, and
Hmm.
I'm not on their payroll, but I refer a lot of my clients to them. They're a company out of Austin, Texas, and we together, they provide all the formatting services that I don't do, because I like to focus on just like doing what I do the best, and that's
Yeah.
illustration. But when I work with them, we're able to make these books that look completely professional, that look like they could be on the shelf at Barnes and Noble. So I mean, I and people have so many really good ideas that they feel like that they want to get out there, but there it seems to be that there's a gatekeeper telling them no, and that
Mm.
is either through getting an agent or being accepted by a publishing company, and though that process can take like several years,
Yeah.
um,
Wow.
acquiring an agent, and then after that even getting picked up by a company. And you know sometimes that's just never going to happen for people. But if they have a really good idea, a niche idea to
Yeah.
certain that they can sell to that audience, it's really possible for them to do it and to come up with a really great product, and get it out there to the masses. So that's been my focus, to work with self-publishing authors. So
That's awesome. And you kind of mentioned how your focus is illustration. So I am curious because when you first start off and you're doing so much art, I feel like sometimes it can be really hard to focus. We almost want to be like, at least me, like you want to be like known for everything, but then to actually get that niche. And I know that that also helps with like writing and different stuff. So what would you recommend to people to, I guess, find their like niche or like their focus?
yeah, I think that I used to spread myself really thin. Like I was always doing like I was doing portraits and painting like with acrylics on canvas. I was doing lots of wall murals, which got me well known throughout my community. And
Hmm.
I was kind of working that angle. But I've always just enjoyed storytelling. I've enjoyed doing that type of art. And so I think it was really just like once I surrendered to, I think, what God had for me, that's whenever
Yeah.
it started flourishing. And so I think I don't know if that's the same for every single person, if they have that so strong in them, because I know it was strong in me, the desire to illustrate and storytell and do children's books. And I mean, when I was like 5, people would ask me what I want to be when I grow up, and I would say an artist, and I want to draw children's.
Wow, that's amazing.
So yeah, I'm not sure that that's like that with everybody. For me, it was, and so I guess it would just be like, what is the thing that brings you the most joy, and you feel like brings the most glory to God?
I love that. That's amazing. That's a great answer. And can you share with us maybe like one of your favorite projects or books that you worked on?
Oh gosh, okay. How did you even know that I was probably sitting like in front of them?
Really? I didn't, but that's amazing.
Here's
Uh,
one, The Peppered Sky. So this book
that's
was really
beautiful.
cool. I got to work with an author that is a military
Hmm.
wife mom, and her I'm kind of showing you the pages here, but her story is all about how I don't know, a lot of people in the military have had where their husband or dad went and parachuted
Yeah.
uh, at Fort Bragg.
Okay.
And so that's what her story is about. So it's all about like these kids going to see their dad parachute. And so she's like doing the circuit in all of the military schools and everything like that. So she's really, and that's one of my really recent projects. And then I guess I'll show you another one. Um,
Yeah.
Here is a book about a little corgi named Georgie, which is quite funny. I have a dog named Georgie, and she's a black lab. Nothing like this little one, but
Yeah.
this one was about. It was actually written by an author who is a therapist, a child therapist, and she's writing all about how this little chubby dog has like insecurities, and how the dog really learns to just embrace how it is and how it's made. And I
Yeah.
think that like that's a classic lesson why we, of course, we want all of our children to love how they are and to not wish that they were different, but this to really accept how they were made.
Yeah,
And
that's so awesome. I really like because I was a military brat. I really like the peppered sky one. Like that looks really cool.
I figured you would like that.
Yeah.
Um, and then I also have this one.
Oh,
It's called
I
I
know
Know the
the
Plan.
plans. Yeah.
And this one was just a little prayer book for like for babies and for parents to read to their child at nighttime. And they have it's a bunch of really cute
Oh, it's so cute. So
little
precious.
animal families.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and so I think I'm losing a little bit of track, but I have probably 20 something books that I've worked on and still in the process of doing that. And I also work with a charity in Kansas City called Variety KC,
Uh-huh.
and where we feature doing books about certain kids who have disabilities, who are in wheelchairs, and just the different things that they have done around Kansas City to make the city more accessible to kids with disabilities. And so that's been a really fun project. I'm on my 4th book with them. So
That's amazing. What would you say, like, if someone's actually interested, like they're an author or a writer and they're wanting to find an illustrator for their book, like, what are like good questions that they should ask or things that they should be aware of?
Um, well, I would think if I was looking for an illustrator, I would definitely, well, I'd probably just Google it. If you Google, I get found a lot by people typing in like Christian children's book illustrator, and they'll go to my website.
Yeah.
Or you want like illustrator in Kansas City or illustrator in whatever your city is. And it doesn't even have to be uh, someone that you've met before. It can be someone who's across the country from you, and
Yeah.
they can do this remotely. But I would check out the other projects that they've done in their portfolio. If they don't have like a solid example, collection of examples of their art, then I would never sign up with them. I would want to know that they did it and they did it well. They know what
Yeah.
they're, and so I would want to see examples of their art, and that they were. It's like illustrating a book is a little bit like running a marathon in a way, because once you get to the end, you are just so tired of it because you're drawing the same character over and over again in different positions, and it's just something really hard to kind of make the finish line. And so if a person's never done that before, I'm not sure that they could finish it
Yeah.
if if they weren't sure they could. And so,
Yeah.
I would not, and I'd probably, that's what you're going to get. You're probably going to find someone who's very inexperienced if their prices are really low. So I would say you get what you pay for.
Yeah, no, that's very true. You do.
Yeah. So I wouldn't just discount someone if their prices are outside of your price range. I would say, as an author, I would probably say, well, how do I want my book to look? Because this is really, like, people do judge books by their cover, even though there's like some saying that you shouldn't. They do.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you need to value, okay, well, how important is it that my book looks sellable or professional? Or do I just want to get this out just because it's a fun personal project? And then go with the lower priced person. And
what does like what can a person expect for the process? Like, how long does it usually take to like actually illustrate a book?
So with me, if you were just working directly with me and not through a publishing company, it usually would take, if I cleared all my other projects out and didn't do several books at a time, which I usually do, because I'm usually waiting for approval on one, I will work on the other one. But if I were to clear my schedule, I could get it done in 2 months.
Okay. Wow. That's that does seem fast.
Yeah. And so but that's not the standard. Like, if you were to hire another illustrator and they said it took them 6 months or a year, I mean, that's acceptable. That's actually normal. So it's not like anyone should put those expectations on somebody else that's an illustrator. Or if you're an illustrator out there and you think, oh my gosh, she can get that done in 2 months. Well, it's because I've illustrated like 20 books and I've figured out my process and gotten really fast at it because I know what I'm doing. And also I use the iPad to draw too. So I can make all sorts of revisions and changes just pretty quickly. If you're doing traditional artwork, like real paint on paper, like, yeah, you need probably a year.
Yeah. Wow. That's really cool. Is there any last thing that you would really want to share with all of the listeners?
I would say if you're a wife and a mom, that just to prioritize your family and all the other things will kind of fall in line. And if you are not a wife and a mom, if you're just a lady who loves the Lord, just to look how you can glorify God in everything that you do. And so just find your passion and to put everything you have into that passion then.
That's awesome. That's amazing advice. And can you tell the listeners, if they are interested in looking at your work or maybe even working with you, can you tell them where they can find you?
Okay, so my website is just bethsniderart.com. So that's really easy to find me. And that is spelled BETHSNIDER and then ART. So bethsniderart.com. And then I'm on Instagram as beth.snider.artist.
Awesome. Thank you, Beth, so much for just sharing your knowledge with us and your skills and your talents. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Do you have big dreams but no idea how to get there? Do you struggle with accomplishing the things that are most important to you? If you answered yes to those questions, I would like to offer you my free workbook called How to Get Unstuck, a free guide on how to get unstuck and live your dreams. This resource is full of tactics I use to help get me unstuck, and I believe that they will do the same for you. You can download this free guide on my blog at youarecreativeforce.com. The show notes for today's episode are available on my blog at youarecreativeforce.com, as well as other resources and inspiration to go after your dreams.